I want to start with probably what to me was one of the most profound things in one of their episodes I was listening to. And it was actually a recent episode. I think it was episode 122. We'll put a link in the show notes so you guys can also listen to that. But it's called We Did the Math. So Dr. Goldsby in that podcast essentially goes through the math of if you have this many hens, about how many gobblers are you going to actually have that make it to 2, right? So he went through all the literature, and he first did it for the average landscape. So something that hasn't had habitat improvement done to it, just kind of your average terrain, average landscape. And he went through the research. Okay, he used the number 50 hens as an example. So he went through that and said, okay, the research says this percentage will have nest initiation. On average, the clutch sizes are this big. On average, you'll get this many that hatch. And then he goes through and says, on average, this many will survive to 1 month. And then at the end goes on to, okay, this many will survive to 2 years old. And essentially, from your 50 hens, the attrition rate for gobblers in this case, which is kind of what most of us are concerned, right? Because we're wanting to shoot a gobbler. Mm-hmm. So from 50 hens, you'll get about 10 2-year-old birds in a 2-year time frame. So he took that number. That was an example. Yeah, it wasn't a lot. So from 50 hens, 10 gobblers.
That's rough as shit.
Yeah.
And you think like the average egg laying from a hen is anywhere between 10 and 15 eggs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They averaged 10 would
10
make
eggs,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. A clutch size of 10 is what they used.
Damn, man.
So 50 hens, 10 gobblers. So then he looked at, okay, just let's say you start some habitat management, your first year of habitat management. Took a look at the research and did the same thing again. On average, how much does nest initiation increase? How much does your survivability rates increase, etc.? So he went through the same numbers. Started with 50 hens again. From those 50 hens, you now end up with 23 2-year-old birds.
Wow.
So a 2.3%, 2.3 times, sorry, not percent.
I was like, it seems low.
Yeah. Almost 2.5 times greater the following year. That is the following year.
Yeah.
Right. So just even, 1 year, and they didn't even talk about it being like very high quality management that had been done over years. That was just with 1 year. And they said they felt like that was fairly conservative.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I'm drawing up numbers in my head right now from looking at like success rates and buck to doe and bull to cow ratios for out west that they list. And so they always go 100 does to however many bulls or bucks. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be like a 46 to 100 ratio, which is pretty damn good if you're looking at deer and elk and all that. Normally it's 20s and 30s. So that's solid, and that's year one.
Yeah.
God.
Not even with real strong habitat improvement. You got to think about what turkeys like being in. We had Shane Simpson on here, and he talked about kind of how turkey populations plummeted in South Carolina all those years ago is because they came in, they logged, and they just dumped all the shit all over the ground, preventing birds from doing what birds need to do. You look at areas where hay fields are, or just allowing acreage to grow up, and give that nice thick kind of understory where those poults and stuff can survive, or where those hens can get in a nest. That's not even real hardcore habitat improvement.
No.
Mm-hmm. That's just allowing a little area of a property to take growth of what it's supposed to look like in a regular day or a regular year prior to going in and bush hogging it or something.
Yeah. And I don't know if they gave specifics as far as the habitat improvement. I'm assuming they meant like general cutting and like general burns. They have other podcasts. They have a Dr. Greg Harper. It's Greg or Craig? Maybe it's Craig Harper.
Craig Harper.
Yeah, but he does a lot of research on burning and burning at different times of the year. but they didn't specify when they were talking about this. So in general, just kind of general cutting, general burning, and you'll get that much improvement. So that was that was kind of a staggering number. I was like, oh man, like, okay, how would that apply to me? That's what I was thinking while I was listening to that. And I'll go back real quick. So that was just year one. Now, if you have the same habitat improvement or continue to improve upon it, right, that number is just going to compound. Mm-hmm. So to me, that says these areas are going to hold a lot of birds potentially and be able to sustain larger numbers of gobblers, more birds and stuff. So from a hunting standpoint, I'm like, okay, that is easy to me to understand. Like, I should be looking for areas that have this type of habitat diversity, something that's going to support a large number of birds, especially if we're going out of state, right? I don't want to look at some. No, you can't. I'm not saying you can't find birds in a lot of areas, but just like kind of a monotonous, no diversity, like big forest, like I'm probably not going to go there. I'm probably going to look for something like they talked about. That's something that's very diverse.
There's always going to be what would it be, like a nucleus or whatever? Like there's
Correct.
always going to be that dot on the map, though, that they kind of go in and out of. Like that's where the majority of your birds can be found at some point during the day. And obviously it's going to relate back to food cover and the ability for a hen to nest. That we all know that. You get, just like we hunt the downwind side of bedding, we'll get on the outside of the nesting cover, and that's where he's going to go strut and gobble because that's who he's breeding, and then he's going to go in there and feed and, do his thing. And so it only makes sense to me. I can't get the ratio out of my head, though. Like with you talking about just year one, you're nearly one gobbler to every 2 hens. That's unreal. I've never seen that. I don't think ever.
I don't know that I have either.
That'd be a hell of a time in the turkey woods.
Well, and the thought that runs through my head when we're talking about, where would you look to find a bird if you're traveling out of state? What's the first thing you do when you get all the pieces out for a puzzle, Josh?
Just like a general puzzle?
You're traveling out of state. What's your first act?
Oh, I think he's talking about an actual.
I'm talking about an actual puzzle.
An actual puzzle. Look for the corners.
You look for the corners and you look for the edges.
Yeah.
So like
I went another direction. That's where y'all hear about our brains working differently. There it was.
You look for corners, you look for edges. You look for the things that are going to help you solve the puzzle in the quickest manner possible. So if you take that same thought process with what birds like being in and what areas to be like on public ground where you can get into that kind of stuff, it's going to be a lot easier for you. Like, there's birds in big woods. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of guys that we know from Wisconsin that do real well every year in big woods hunting, and with birds. Here, Ohio, Kentucky, outside of being like over in the eastern part of Kentucky, in the mountains and stuff, or if that's what you want to call them, you get a lot of habitat that birds love to be in. And you're going to find birds a lot quicker, I feel like, in that type of stuff than you are wandering around the woods. And like you guys talked with Pierce last time, adventure is great. A dead bird is even better.
It is. It's why you're there. People that talk about sunrises, go hiking. That's all.
Love sunrises. I like a dead bird sitting at my feet.
We're here to kill turkeys.
A lot more.
We're not here to see sunrises. That's just a perk and a part of the feel-good story while you're sipping coffee. We're here to kill turkeys.
Let me kill the turkey as soon as he hits the ground and then watch the sunrise.
Yeah,
with him
get your
next to him.
picture with the sun through the tail fan like we like.
Exactly.